All right, here we are. So, welcome everyone this Thursday evening. Today we're going to be doing some stuff in XD, and what we're going to be doing is doing a simulation of a social feed. So what this means is basically we're going to go ahead and oh, that's interesting. We're going to go ahead and, sort of hijack a brand, basically, off of Twitter and inject our own content into it for concepting work. So, if you're a advertising student and you have this idea on how you could have a campaign for, in our example, it's going to be Spotify. You can do things and create these different things inside of something like XD, record the interactivity with those things, and then bring that into something like Premiere Pro or After Effects or something like that in order to integrate it with other elements of your campaign. And that's what we're going to do. So here I have XD open, and I've already got a project created with a single artboard called Feed Display. And this artboard has a black background just because the Adobe XD team still hasn't given us the option to have a dark background, unfortunately, which is something like I really, really want and I've been wanting for years, but they just haven't done it yet. So I don't know, maybe this is the lucky year, right? But with the white background, everything just burns my eyes out. So one of the first things I usually do is turn my artboard background dark. So that kind of offset things, balance them, whatever. So there's a good amount of people inside of the stream right now. So please go ahead and introduce yourselves over the chat. Just let me know how you're doing. If you have any questions for me, feel free to go ahead and do that. So let's have a look at this artboard. It's very simple. You can see here there's a single artboard and it's got really nothing to it right now, right? So I do have the width at 375 and the height at 505. We can make that something like 720. So why am I doing 375 by 720 for my artboard? The reason for that is that I want to be able to present this inside of a video, and the video would probably be a 16 by 9. 1280 by 720 is a very common size. If you were doing a 1080 video for height, you could do 1080 here. It doesn't really matter that much. But just so that my numbers mean something, I like numbers to mean something when I go through here, right? And actually, I need my artboard to be much bigger. This little blue thing, if you've never used it, is it determines the size of your actual viewport. So I want my viewport itself, and that's something that you can see. Where is that defined? It should be here somewhere. Oh, well, I made it the whole. Oh, there it is. Viewport size 720. So yeah, I mean the height of the thing can be way more, and it's gonna be quite a bit more. Let's make it 1200. It's really the viewport that I really care about for this size. All right, so we've got our XD document prepped and ready to go. What I want to do now is get out of XD and go into my web browser. So this is Google Chrome, and I'm just using an account that does not have a Twitter account, so I'm not logged into Twitter or anything. And I'm at twitter.com/Spotify so that we are able to grab some of these assets. So you can see inside of Spotify, they've got a number of different things here. And one of those things is, they put a lot of ads in terms of, trying to promote, of course, certain music, certain albums. Anybody who was around gosh, I don't know, it's been months now. I think it was like at the beginning of the summer that I did this. And there's a replay, right, on Behance. What I did was I had a Behance stream that was all about producing album art. So I'm going to repurpose the album art we created from that stream, and I'm gonna hijack Spotify's stream here and make use of that. So there's a couple different ways you could go about doing this, right? Probably one of the easiest, honestly, is just to use whatever your native capture stuff is on your computer. So because I'm on a Mac here, what are we gonna have? We're gonna have Shift Command 5. That's gonna bring up my little sampler here. And then I can click and drag and just grab this content. And I think, let's make sure I've actually got this set correctly. Yeah, I've got it set to grab it and put it in my clipboard. So let's capture this guy. Done. So now that this area is in my clipboard, I can actually start reproducing this in XD. So let's open XD again. And inside of my feed display, just do a Command Control V, and there we go. We can of course resize this as necessary. And why use XD for something like this, right? There's a couple of reasons. One of those reasons is because you can do things so quickly in XD and just like put stuff together, right? So I can just grab the ones that I actually want here and bring those in and put them together in the way that I want, and actually override some of these things too. So now I've got the header up here. I want to go ahead and grab some additional content. So let's find something that's similar. And here's something right here, right? We've got 22 hours ago. It looks like this is a promo for, you know, something. Well, or it's a, maybe that's a podcast. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter that much because all we really need is the size for this stuff. Let's grab this one here. Let's grab a couple of these. So one thing that you would want to do when you're composing this and selecting pieces of content is you want to sort of integrate things that you inject in here with things that already exist. So let's go ahead and again, Shift Command 5 on a Mac. Windows has its own little thing too. It's got a little snipper tool, but I'm not sure what the shortcut is for that. And boop. There we go. So I can use this in a couple different ways actually. One of those ways is I can use this content as, you know, an actual piece of content, which of course it is. I love the snapping inside of XD. And if we look here inside of our artboard, we can see we've got our different little images here. Now, we are using this little viewport slider in order to define a scrollable area, right? So this is going to extend way past the scrollable area so that we're able to record somebody scrolling through the actual feed from Spotify, right? So there we've borrowed that content. And oh, something I'm really happy about on this computer. So this is running off a M1 Mac Mini, right? Which is a really nice machine. I've never been, you know, I've never been like, oh wow, a Mac Mini, but this thing runs so fast. So I've got like a trackpad hooked up to it and little keyboard hooked up to it, right? And I was using that for a long time, but I used to always use, an Intuos tablet and stylus, right? So a Wacom Intuos. So today I went and I was like, I've got so much room on my desk now that I'm not using a laptop on a stand and all this stuff and a bunch of screens. I can actually bring that back, right? So that's what I did today. One of the things I did, I brought back my Intuos stylus and tablet. I installed the software, it's all hooked up, and it seems to be running really nice. And it's cool because I can use that in line with, the nice trackpad and things like that I've got hooked up here as well, right? So I can use my trackpad or I can use my stylus. They work in tandem. So yeah, what are your accomplishments today? That's pretty much mine. I do hope everyone's doing well. All right, so let's go ahead and pop another one of these in there. I want to duplicate this, so I'm gonna select it, and just for now, hold down Alt or Option, just drag that off to the side. I'm gonna use that later, right? Now, there's another way we could do this too. So if you were adventurous, you could always use your web browser's dev tools to capture the content. So if we look, of course, there's tons and tons and tons of different pieces of content in these tweets, right? Inside of Chrome here, if we right click, we can choose Inspect to bring up the dev tools. And once I've got my dev tools open, I can go up here and turn on my device toolbar. And what that does is it represents what I have going on here as, how we would see it in mobile, right? So you can see here I'm doing it for an iPhone X, which is 375, which of course is exactly like what we have going on inside of our XD project. So if I wanted to grab a bunch of content from here like this, there's a number of different ways to do it. If you have Snagit from TechSmith, you could always go through and do a scrollable capture. That's always really useful. However, there are actually tools inside of Chrome to let you do something kind of similar. And those are located in the More Options right here in the device toolbar. So if you go in here and you say, capture screenshot, it's gonna capture everything that you see in the viewport right now as a screenshot. But if you choose this next one, capture full-size screenshot, it's gonna take a moment longer, and you can see it's thinking, there we go. But it captures actually that entire scrollable area that's been loaded in, and it brings that into your downloads folder. So let's have a look at that. Actually, I'm going to turn off my device toolbar and get out of inspection mode there, my developer tools. So here's my content here. Oh, and by the way, so this is the project I mentioned for album art that we're going to be using inside of Spotify here to hijack their thread and put stuff in there. Of course, there's nothing malicious about this, right? We're just reappropriating their content with our content. And it's for a internal project, so it's not like we're going to try and trick anyone, right? There's nothing deceitful about this. All right, so, gosh, everybody's so quiet. Nobody's chatting. I'm gonna start the conversation here. Hey, all. And this is actually the first time I've ever used the pop-out chat. The pop-out chat doesn't seem to be working because I just pasted something in and it didn't work. Oh, there we go. Well, that was interesting. Huh. Well, Behance. All right, so let's go ahead and go look at my downloads. So inside my downloads, if I select that guy and I preview it, check that out. So it's a big long list of the content right? So what you can use this for, of course, is we could grab that and drag it into our XD project. And wow, that is high res. So that's actually a really good way to do it. Oops. Twitter, come. Now, where did it go? I lost it. Oh, there it is, way down at the bottom. Oh my gosh. It might be so big that... Let's change the width to 375. And we'll just drag it onto our artboard there. Yeah, so it's inside of the feed display artboard now. And if we look, yeah, I mean, pretty much perfect. So, you know, you got a couple choices here. You can build it up from scratch, your little Twitter feed, right? Or, and let's move that down so it's behind everything else. Or you can go and, you know, grab individual pieces here and there. So I'm gonna save time by just doing it this way. All right, so that looks pretty good. And we need to make this artboard a lot taller if we want to scroll it quite a bit, right? So I'm going to select feed display. And gee, let's make it, I don't know, 6,000 pixels high. That's going to give us enough to go on, I think. And we'll remove that one. And you know what? So interestingly enough, when you view this stuff at different sizes, it oftentimes becomes different, right? If that makes any sense. So let's go ahead and choose where we want to insert our content. So there we go. Here is the one that I was looking at before. So let's replace this. What are we going to have to do to replace this content? One thing we can do is, of course, take our little tool. We don't need any border on that. And the fill, let's sample that directly from Spotify's background. It's black. Actually, we can do the same thing here. Let's pop that down. All right, so some considerations here as we're going through and doing this, right? One consideration is that we actually have to, here, let's hide this. We actually have to use the same typeface that Twitter is using. So you may not realize, but Twitter actually changed their typeface a few weeks ago. It's a new typeface called Chirp. So you can usually find typefaces like that, especially if they're on the web. And I found the Chirp typeface as a WOFF file, which is meant to be delivered over the web, but I want to use it locally. So I converted this using a conversion website. And if we look here, the website I used is called Cloudconvert.com. So let me paste that into the chat here. There we go. So it's actually a really cool little website, and it lets you convert all sorts of different things from one to another. So if I go to Cloudconvert. You can see you can choose WOFF to TTF, which is true type font. And you've got a whole bunch of different stuff you can choose from. Different archives, ebook formats, many different types of fonts. So if you have a font in a format that is incompatible with what you want to do with it, you've got options here. It's a free service, and it's actually really, really cool. You can see here, plus 200 formats supported. Got a bunch of video formats, and they even have FLV. So for those who are old school, FLV is flash video. You could take old FLVs and convert them to MP4s or whatever you might want, right? So yeah, that's the conversion tool. And that's how I got this TrueType font. So if you want to install it, you just right click on it and say open with, and again, this is going to be, I'm doing this on a Mac, so there's different ways of doing it. For Windows, you can right click and say install font on Windows, and it'll do it for you. So you can see the only drawback is it's got this generic name of font, which doesn't say a lot, but just remember the name. And we're going to install that font on our local machine. And there we go. There's font. There we go. So now we've got it installed. It should be available to us inside of here so that we can type out our actual message that we're using as part of our campaign, right? So let's see. What I want to do, and something else you could do too if you didn't want to go through that hassle, you can go to Twitter and just replace the text as well. So for instance, and actually this is probably the way I should have done it, but I'm just thinking about this now. So let's go back into our view. So inspect again. And yeah, if I go in here, I could right click here, inspect this particular element. And if you look over on the side here, this is all the HTML and also the content that exists inside of the HTML. So for those who aren't HTML people, HTML, hypertext markup language, is just a way of describing content, really. It's a series of containers. They have a semantic meaning behind them, but it's still just containers. So the text inside can easily be changed, or the images inside, or whatever it might be. So this is another approach you could take. You could actually use tools like this to replace the content and then take your screen capture. So, lots of different avenues for this. So, hey, this is not the original text. And once I lose focus there, you can see right here, hey, this is not the original text. So you could always, always, always go through and, do it like that, do another capture, and then you've got your content. But I am going to do it the other way because I've prepped for it. So you got options, basically. Let's grab some content here. The first thing I want is to grab this. And this is the back cover of our CD art here. And I'm going to use this as sort of a wash, right, inside this window. So let's go ahead and paste that in. There we are. It's way too big, of course, but that's okay. Let's change that. And we're going to make it about the size of the image that's already there for us. So the nice thing about working like this is that it's easy enough to repurpose, some of the stuff that you're dealing with. So I'm going to hide that as well, because I'm going to use a mask to mask this out. So to do that, I'm going to just use a rectangle. For my masks, anything that's like a mask or a guide, I like to make this really bright green color. It's something I started doing when I was working in Flash for years, and it's something that I still do. even in other programs like XD. Oh, and it didn't save. Darn it. Oh well. That's easy enough to fix though. Because I can go in here and there we go. We've got that hideous green color. That tells us that, hey, this is, this might not be exactly what you want, right? So gosh, still nobody commenting. You know, it's a lot, it's a lot like, you know, teaching. You know, you always ask for comments, for discussion, and then you have to beg, and still nobody does it. And then maybe somebody will kind of speak up. Oh, that's why. Well, gosh, that's not what I wanted to have happen. All right, let's paste this in one more time. There we go. Yeah, so I made that background of that object green instead of... That's why it was goofed up at the beginning there. So let's see, toggle that on and off. And if I select both of these together, of course, I can right-click and choose to mask with shape. So mask with shape is going to mask the content underneath with the shape I just created. So check that out. Now it looks like it's actually, you know, something. But let's go inside of here. So if I double click, I go inside our mask group. I want to select our image, and something I want to do is actually put some blur on this. So I'm going to use object blur. Just kind of blur it out a little bit. Now I'm not doing the blur on the mask group because that would make the entire group blurry. I don't want that. I only want the contents of the mask group to be blurry. And there we are. All right. So another thing we need is our actual cover art for the album, which is right here. So let's sample that as well. And yeah, sure, I could use Photoshop or whatever to do this too. But sometimes just popping stuff into your clipboard is all you need to do. And then again, let's go ahead and paste that in. And again, it's humongous. But that's okay, because we can always transform it down into a size that's appropriate for what we're doing. That's pretty good. There we go. Put a little drop shadow on there. Let it stand out a bit more. That looks pretty good. So you can see our little takeover is kind of like halfway done now, right? We have gone through and done this at this point. Let's go ahead and test it just to make sure things are looking okay. So if we do a desktop preview, here it is. And there we go. So cool. Look at that. I've hijacked Spotify's feed with my fake album. Great. So now we need to change the text. So this is where this rectangular element comes in again. So I placed that over it. But before we do that, I really need to make sure I match the text. So let's go ahead and grab our text tool here. And fake album text. So if we look at this, we're using Helvetica New right now because of course we are, right? So let's change this. If you remember, even though we're using the Chirp font, because I had to convert it, when I added it to my font book, it just named it font. So select font. There we go. Now we're using Chirp. And who knows what size this is? Again, we could always check inside of our web browser. So if we go in here and inspect on any of that text, stop, there we go. We can see our different styles here for this element. And we can look for Chirp. All right, here it is. Here's Twitter Chirp, which is the name of the font. And try to find the font size and check that out right there. 15 pixels, font weight 400, line height 20. There is like everything we need. So here's another thing that you can do. I'm just gonna grab this and use this as notes basically inside and alongside what I'm doing inside of XD. I'm gonna just stick this on my pasteboard. There we go. So now I can refer to that as I'm working inside of my artboard, right? So another little trick there. And this is something that we've been doing for years with Flash and now with Animate, of course. Making good use of the pasteboard and the tools that we have. So here we are. There's our Twitter Chirp. And font size 15. I thought it looked a little big. Let's take it down to 15. And fill, it's going to be white most likely. Well, it doesn't really say that. 217, 217, 217. So if we wanted to get this precise, we could go to RGB in our font color selector here. And yeah, let's go 217. Haha, 217. Purple and 217. See if that does it for us. Yeah, well, it's kind of crappy looking, but that's okay. Of course, we can go in here and save that temporarily to a little swatch here, or we could always go into our assets over here and save that as a color, and then we've got it for later use, right? So now that I've got that, and I did it again. I made it like a hideous color there. So there we are. So let's go to our fake album text, which is what I was supposed to have chosen. Oh, and of course, because I did undo, I have to do this again. That's kind of a pain. But it's all right. It's just typing in numbers, right? There we go. All right, so now this should be exactly the same as this. So if I put if I replicate that text, yeah, look at that. Perfect match, except it capitalized my T, but that's all right. I don't necessarily need this anymore, so I'm going to delete it from my project. And now we just need to figure out, exactly what we want to do in terms of a message. So let's say, I don't know, new album, July has gone. And yeah, you can't really see that, can you? We'll just use this here and there. From found things. So you can see our text is going a little awry. If we look over on the side here, oh yeah, well I made this text object as just point text. Let's see if we can convert it. that is not what I want. Whoa. Let me just copy that out of there. There we go. Paste that in again. Perfect. And yes. So as you can see right now, we've got 18 for our line height, or our leading, or whatever it might be. Let's put that to 20 as it was. I'll get it 15. And that should be pretty much on par with what we're looking at here inside of our original content. Oops, that's not what I want. This rectangle? Yeah. So line that up. And yeah, so the line spacing is perfect. The font size is perfect. The only thing that's different, oh, the color's perfect too. The only thing that's actually different is the, my stuff's crisp, right? It's not a bitmap, so it's nice and crisp. And I don't think we really need that anymore. So let's see, new album, July has gone from Found Things. Premiering on Spotify. When? This October. And you can, I mean, whatever you want to put in here. I'm just trying to make stuff up. So listen to the first single, July. Next week, on Friday at midnight. Pacific time. Perfect. And then at the very end, we got to have a little hashtag in there. Let's do a hashtag found things. And for the hashtag, actually, we're going to need to change the text color. And I don't think, yeah. So I didn't think XD was able to quite pull that off yet. So what we're going to need to do is make that, oh, hello. There we go. To make that a separate piece of text, actually. But we can just cut it right there. And this can actually be point text, that's fine. And, oh, you know what? We can sample this from Twitter's actual blue for hyperlinks. Oh man, so the stylus ain't doing it for me here. I'm gonna actually use my touchpad. There we go. And then we'll just choose our selection tool and just eyeball this, right? There we go. Let's make another hashtag, bring back July. It's pretty funny. I mean, to me. Oh, hello, Jeffrey. How are you today? I just saw your comment in the chat. Bring back July. And if we wanted to grab some kind of like little emoji, you know, we could. Actually, I'm gonna squish this here a little bit. Actually, that works out because now I can align my type a little better. Perfect. All right. Yeah, so we can make as many of these stupid little things as we want, right? I've got this one, but we could spatter these amongst the feed if we wanted to. And yeah, that's basically it in terms of design, right? We are good. So I see another comment in here. What are you making? Yeah, so what I'm making is I'm doing like a concept hijack for social. So this is something that is useful for my students to know, because some of the concepts they create have to do with, you know, an existing brand, and sort of taking that brand and, you know, creating a campaign around that brand, and then executing the concept for that campaign using various creative media. So in this way, I've sampled from, obviously, Spotify's Twitter. So I grabbed a bunch of stuff from there, and then I've gone through, I've used the particular font that Spotify uses called Chirp. I've used the color of the type they use on Spotify. I've used the correct line spacing and so forth. And also, I've matched this up with, if we look here, let's hide all this stuff. Yeah, so I've basically replaced this content with my campaign content. And the idea behind this is that I can now use this to create content that I can integrate into sort of a video presentation inside of Premiere Pro or After Effects or whatever, you know, we might be using. You could even use it on a poster, right? Doesn't matter. But the important thing for this, you know, is that it looks authentic. It looks exactly like Spotify's Twitter. It looks like it could be real. And that's what you need to do. So now that I've actually got this going and designed fully, again, I want to mention my artboard here. The viewport is only so high. I mean, it's 720 pixels high. And then we have our little viewport slider here. Because, of course, on a screen, you don't have endless space, right? So you have to scroll. And that's what we want to capture for use inside of or for use in our video content, right? To simulate what we're doing. Thank you, Jeffrey. Jeffrey says it looks great. And yeah, it does. It looks pretty good. Although, there we go. Found Things. So anybody who's just joining, Found Things is not a real band. July Has Gone is not a real album. What we have here is something that I created on another stream. You can always catch the replay of that in my Behance. So what we want to do is have a look at this. Now this is going to differ between macOS and Windows right here. So we're going to do a desktop preview. And I wonder if I can, yeah, nice. Front and center. So in this desktop preview, this is really the whole point to the thing, right? So what we want to do is we want to be able to actually scroll through this like a user, right? And yeah, there's our hijack content right there. But we want to record it as well. So there's a couple different ways to do this. If you're on macOS, you can record directly from here. So if I click record video, oh, hey, oh, macOS. Gotta open up me system preferences here and give it authority to record my screen, even though I just clicked on the thing saying yes, please record my screen. Oh, I have to quit and reopen too. Well, let's do this. I guess I've never done this on this computer. Well, this is a new computer. It's something that I'm still in the process of kind of getting used to. So let's do quit and reopen rather, so that we're able to actually grab this content. There we go. Social feed. And here it comes. Perfect. All right, cool. So let's try that again. Desktop preview. now that we got the desktop preview up, you'll notice there's a little record button here. So I know Windows didn't used to have this. I can't remember if it was added or not. I don't think so. But you don't have to use XD to actually record the video. You can always use something else to do that. So, you know, I can record video through QuickTime here. Although, when I've recorded video through QuickTime, well, one of my students have recorded the screen with video using QuickTime in the past for projects like this. It gets all weird inside of Premiere and inside of After Effects. So you probably want to run it through Adobe Media Encoder or something like that first to kind of standardize it. Apple does some weird stuff, but let's go ahead and record it like this. You could use, of course, Snagit from TechSmith or Camtasia or you know, anything like that. Notifications from my front porch. Oh, it's just shadows from the tree. Oh gosh. Quiet down, phone. So let's see. What I'm gonna do is hit record, and I'm gonna record this. Scroll down and like, whoa, what's that? Right. So that's one way to do it. Let's stop the recording. And we can call this social feed. Wonderful. Let's close out of there. Bring up XD again. Back from its slumber. There it is. And so here's my little social feed MP4. So let's see how that looks. Yeah, one of the bad things about doing it this way, you can see the scroll bar shows up, which is no good. And also you get that little indicator there. I'm not sure if there's a way to stop that from happening. Let's actually choose feed display. Yeah, there's nothing here that I see to get rid of scroll bars. And oh, another thing you could do, of course, is you could preview this on your device. So you could actually preview it on your iPhone or on your Android device and capture the screen that way. And yeah, I don't see a lot of options here. No, I don't need that. Whatever. Yeah, so yeah, you'd probably want to use something else aside from XD's native tools for this anyway. So again, you know, you could always use QuickTime for it and do a screen recording. You could use Camtasia. You could use yes, Apple certainly is keeping people on their toes. I just saw that comment now. Yep. Yeah, you could use OBS. So I'm using OBS to stream right now. You could use OBS to capture your content and then bring it into, you know, Premiere Pro or whatever you might want. So lots of different tools, and of course OBS is free, which is often really good for students, right? Well, it's good for everyone. Whereas, you know, TechSmith stuff, it's nice, but it's not free for sure. Anyway, that is the content that I wanted to go through today on this stream. So, yeah, I think that's about it, really. So, you know, this is a new time I'm trying out for the stream. So we got Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, which is 5 p.m. my time in Mountain Time. I'm in Colorado. I teach at the University of Colorado Boulder. And yeah, a lot of the content that I create on these streams I repurpose for my advertising creative students. So awesome. Perfect. Well, I think that's a good time to stop. We've gone 50 minutes here. And yeah, we've had some pretty good engagement. Thank you, Jeffrey, for showing up. And thanks everyone else for coming. Gosh, my ridiculous cameras are just like going nuts with these shadows. It must be a little stormy out. I'm gonna go ahead and disable them. Please nobody rob me in the next hour or so when these are disabled. There we go. Make everybody promise not to rob me. Perfect. All right, so next week, what are we doing next week? Let's pull up my content for next week. And here we are. So there we are live right there. And wow, deja vu. Didn't I just do that, right? So here we go. We're doing social interface simulation right here. That's crazy looking at that. But what we're going to do next week, if we go to work, you can always keep up with my schedule, or at least what I'm planning to do on here, right? Sometimes it changes. Like last week, I couldn't make 4 o'clock because I had to be up in Boulder. I had an event with my students. But most days I am at 4 p.m. So this is today, social interface simulation. Oh, yeah, next week's gonna be fun. Depth-based scenic design. This is gonna be using the new 3D tools inside of After Effects. So that's gonna be pretty cool. Right on. And then December 30th is no stream because I have a minor surgery to take care of, which I've been waiting. I tried to get it done over the summer, you know, because as a university person, faculty, I do get summers to myself, mostly. I wanted to do it over the summer, but because of everything with COVID, I just had to wait, and I've been waiting for a long time, so that'll be good. Anyway, thanks everyone. This replay will be up, I don't know, usually takes like an hour or two. And I also put these on YouTube, so if you're on my YouTube channel, hello, welcome. I know they're not as popular on YouTube, but it's nice to have them in both places. All right, very cool. I'll see everybody next week, so long as you pop in. I'll be here, or at least I assume I'll be here. You never know, but I plan on being here. So good evening all, have a good night and a good week.